Hi everyone, welcome back. In this video we will be talking about the other features of data validation. We have just touched upon this topic in the previous level, and that was with respect to the data validation drop down list, where you could have in a drop down list all the input values like January, February, March and so on. Now in this particular sheet I am going to talk about a potential user form wherein a user or a staff member has to input normal information like date, name of the client, the 4-digit alphanumeric ID code that may be allotted to this particular transaction, and the sales amount, and the fact that the negotiable discount cannot exceed 50% of the sales amount. Now quite often if I just tell this verbally to all my staff members, they would follow that, but one of the rare odd cases, they by mistake may enter a value which is not supposed to be inputted. For example, 1st January 2013. Similarly, by mistake they may enter a value which may be a 5-digit code, and they may just overlook this portion. And let's say sales amount comes out to be 50,000 and negotiable discount that they may provide in this scenario may exceed 50%. So I want a message, some kind of inbuilt control which should restrict these user inputs to the parameters that I have previously set. So let me delete the existing values and let's see what are the available features in data validation option to be able to provide me with these inbuilt controls. Let me begin with the scenario 1, which talks about the restricted inputs for dates. So if I choose a group of cells in which the staff member is supposed to give his inputs, I reach out to data, I go to data validation and check on the data validation option. Now previously we had discussed this in a very smaller manner, that is allow list, not any value but a list. But this time I'm more concerned with the dates option. So I say please allow dates between the two starting and end date, and I will mention that in MDY format. That's the default format which Excel accepts as a date. So 1/1/2012 and the ending date as 12, which is denoting the month December /31/2012. So MDY followed for both. Okay. Now if I put any date beyond this particular range mentioned, let's say 1st of February 2013, and if I press enter, it doesn't accept that. It says the value you have entered is not valid. A user has restricted value that can be entered into the cell. So that particular user who has restricted the value is me in this case. So I will give an option to retry, and therein he might mention the correct date, so 1st February 2012, and that works fine for us. Similarly, if I want to restrict the user inputs in a particular column or a group of cells to simply 4 characters, not 3, not 5, exactly 4. So after choosing those group of cells, I again go back to data validation, within which this time I reach out to something called text length. So if I choose text length, I will be allowed to give a minimum which is 4 and maximum that is also 4. So this denotes you can put in an exact character of 4. So ABCD is allowed, 1 2 3 4 is allowed, but ABCDE is not allowed, which you'll see right now. So I press OK. Now somebody is typing in the 5-digit, or in this case 5-character code, not allowed. Let me write ABCD. Perfectly allowed. 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4 5. Not allowed. So let me complete the user form for the first line. So I'm saying 1st January 2012. The name is Rishabh Pogalia. And a 4-digit character code allotted to him. So RTT6, let's say. And sales amount is 12,000. Now the negotiable discount, which is for internal office use only, is a customized one which says sales amount, if it is 12,000, the negotiable discount cannot in any case exceed 50% of that. So that's the upper limit. Now how do I build in that control? Because the user can write even 12,000. as the negotiable discount, which means net sales is 0. So let me delete that. Let me select the group of cells. Let me reach out to data validation and say data validation, and this time I say, since it is not an ad hoc number, it is not an ad hoc number, although if I try to write it this way, that is whatever the minimum is 0 and the maximum is 12,000 multiplied with 50%. So this is the maximum upper limit. If I press OK, let's see if that works. 6,000 works, but will 6,001 or 11 work? No. Similarly, so I can provide a data validation saying the whole number between 0, this is the minimum discount, and maximum should be the previous cell's 50%. Now you could have also put in a decimal, in which case the options will remain the same. Alternatively, I can also use this custom. Let me show you how to use this custom option. So I choose a group of cells, I go to data validation, let me check out the custom and say, and let me talk about a formula which should substantiate what I am trying to put in, the logic. So I say equal to this cell, whatever this cell says, should be less than equal to 50% of the previous cell. So F5, that's the discount for the first client, should be less than equal to 50% of the respective sales amount. So if I press OK, 6,000 allowed, 6,001 not allowed. So you could do it in two different manners. In both cases the purpose will be solved. So if I put in a sales amount, let's say 6,000, now it doesn't recheck that control. So for these cases, how do I assess whether the input has been correct? Let me put in some dummy values, let's say 5,000. If I now put in 2,500, it will accept, but if I put in 2,900, it might not. So as of now I might have put 2,000, but later on I may have scaled down the sales amount to, let's say, only 1,000. In this case, negotiable discount exceeds the sales amount. Now how do I catch these errors? If I select a group of cells and I go to data validation and I say circle invalid data, so this is how it catches all the erroneous data validation inputs that have crept in because later on I change the sales amount. So this is how you can detect. In fact, if you do not want the circles, you can simply say clear validation rules. So it's a good option. You can use circle invalid data. Now another issue that comes up with this data validation is, let's say in this case, let me revise the discount amount to a correct value. Let's say in this case 2,000 and in this case only 100, which is both of them are less than equal to 50%. Now some way in another part of the workbook I have written a very big amount, let's say 10,000. Now sometimes when we copy and try to use paste special and use values, even though it has only replicated the value, not the data validation list or data validation feature, it still accepts. Now similar case I will be using data validation circle invalid data. So in case you're working with a sheet which has already data validation features on, you might want to start with circle invalid data to check whether any of such errors may have crept in. So again, this is generally used for simple forms. It provides a simple controls, inbuilt controls, but yes, please also be aware that it has two of this erroneous features which can be highlighted using circle invalid data. Now sometimes you would also want the user, whenever he selects this cell, he should be given a message saying please input the data between 1st January 2012 and 31st December 2012. So in that case, let me choose a group of cells, go to data validation. Now you would notice it shows me the same features which I had built in, but this time let me give an input message. It says the heading should be input instruction. Okay, and the instruction goes like this: please input date between 1 Jan 2012 and 31st December 2012. Okay, so anytime a user selects this cell, this group of cell, he's given this option of message which will remind him what to feed in this particular group of cells. So very effective features in case you are making forms, and this forms might be used by your juniors, might be used by your peers, or maybe used by your clients to feed in some basic data. So that's all for data validation. See you in the next video, and do give it a good amount of practice. Bye.